I don't have the boundaries that a lot of people have. My boundaries, or I do have the boundaries, but my boundaries are set to, I am here for whoever needs to come through to be able to heal someone here on, like, let's move mountains. So, I mean, am I going to have somebody come to me and be like, oh, tap her on the shoulder, make sure you tell her that's not her, she shouldn't date this guy. Like, that's not going to happen. You know, that's not my job. But if somebody needs deep healing, Spirit's going to come to me and they're going to figure it out. So I feel like however that works, I'm very open to it. So yeah, if I'm at a restaurant and my server walks over and, you know, her dad is there, I'm going to probably wait a bit and ask dad to figure out how we're going to do that. And then I just know, there's a feeling where I know, okay, this is the time. Okay. Either they've given a few really good key pieces of evidence and I can speak on it immediately, or there's just a space where it just happens. And I'm like, okay, like, let's talk about it. People are so receiving, and it's because I know that Spirit is lining that up.
Welcome to Limitless, the podcast for cycle breakers, change makers, and conscious leaders who are done performing, proving, and pleasing, and are ready to live, lead, and create from deep alignment. I'm your host, Fiona Walsh. Every 2 weeks, I hold space for real soul-expanding conversations with guests who are still in it. They're navigating their biggest fears, shedding old identities, letting go of patterns that no longer serve them, and rising into their limitless potential. Together, we share what it's really like to be human, messy, raw, imperfect, and learning to own every part of ourselves, even the ones we've tried to keep neatly tucked away. We go deep into the work of coming home to yourself, getting out of your head, feeling safe in your body, letting go of old stories, and creating a life that's true to who you really are. Subscribing to Limitless is the best way to make sure you never miss an episode. So hit pause and tap follow or subscribe on your favorite podcast platform. Because this isn't about doing more. It's actually about remembering who you are. And that's what makes you limitless. Welcome to Limitless. Today's guest is someone who I met at a summer solstice party back in June this year. There were about 30 women there. And after the connecting and dinner, a medium stood up to do like a group reading for us all. Now, this was the first time I'd seen a medium work in real life and also like with a group of people. And what I witnessed that night totally shifted something in me. And I was like, I've got to get her at Limitless. So today I'm welcoming Lisa Crichton. She goes by the North Band Medium if you want to find her on Instagram. Now, she's an evidential medium and energy healer. So evidential means she doesn't give out vague facts. She brings in really specific, verifiable, validating details that she really has no way of knowing. I saw it in real life and it's incredible. The fact that she did it for a group, I think, was even more powerful because she was able to take information and like work out which individual out of the 30th of us it was for. Now, Lisa's story that you're going to hear today is really, really going to stay with you as well. She was someone who went against her own intuition, even though she had such strength in this space. And she carried a lot of guilt and shame because of it. And for years, she didn't access it. Now, this conversation is going to take us back to what she's worked through, some of the patterns that she healed, and this repeating theme around forgiveness, not as a one-time event, but as something you continually do as you become more aware, more conscious, and keep peeling back the layers of the old onion that many of us are doing. We actually go to a few places on this episode that I haven't been to before on Limitless. So I ask her about what happens when we actually die, how souls become souls from human form, and what do people on the other side, what do souls who have passed want us to know? Now, when we finished recording, Lisa also channeled for me privately. She's the real deal. She is so, so talented, and I am so excited to share this conversation with you all today. Lisa, welcome to Limitless. I'm so excited that you're here today.
Thank you for having me. I'm very grateful to be on with you today.
Okay, so we're going to jump straight in. Can you take us to that turning point, that pivot point moment for you? And let us know what happened and how did everything change from that moment onwards?
Okay. So I will preface it with saying, like, obviously I'm very intuitive. I work in that. That's been my whole life has been a very intuitive led experience in many aspects. Um, However, I'm still human, and um, maybe sort of 10 to 12 years ago, something happened, or maybe 12 to 14, something happened that was quite traumatic for me. It was involving a few other people in my life and some decisions made within the family. And I think, like, for me, even though my intuition said one thing and I felt so strongly to go this way, um, after speaking up and changing the plan, in the end, I did just sort of pivot and go along with what somebody else with stronger personality around me decided. And what's really interesting for me is living through this experience. It was such a shift for me in my human that I actually stepped back from working with spirit. I stepped back from the guidance. I blamed outside of myself, but blamed myself the most. And it was an extremely painful experience to go through. And I think at the time, I couldn't comprehend why, when I just always knew exactly the right thing to do for myself, for those around me, always, always, always me being like, yeah, I got it, like holding all these people all the time, or holding decisions, or just knowing, just the compass was so strong. So there was no question. And knowing there would always be love that comes out of it, and everybody's always going to be safe and held. I think I really didn't feel safe or held, and due to my own human actions. And so I think it was like, I had never had an experience where I felt, this level of maybe wanting to step out of this life and try to start over. I felt like there was this idea of, like, if I could just, like, hit the button where I just go back and don't do it, hit the button and go back. And, like, how can I just do a do-over? And, you can't. And I think that living through something like that, I would say, like, I've always been very comfortable in my life. I was very fortunate. I have really incredible parents. I have a very, not boring, but I do have a very, everybody has their things, but I was very fortunate growing up. I will say it that way. I have a lot of love around me, both of my grandparents, sets of grandparents around till older age. Like, I've been very fortunate to have very good experiences in my life with family. And it's not to say that it didn't go without, like, struggle or stress at points, for sure. However, I just felt like there was never a time where, like, I'm pretty easy to, like, pick it up again and keep going, or, like, move through it and find the joy. And, like, and that's not fake. Like, I tend to be that person that even when things can get really hard or really difficult, I can find my way back from it. It's kind of like, okay, I'm back. Let's bounce back. Let's go. And, like, there's a way out to heal. There's a way to move through it. And I think even being the healer, being the person that provides the insight or the understanding, I had a very incredible mom who I could call up in my 20s anytime there was stress from, like, workplace or friends or anything. And she was the one that would be able to, bring me all the Wayne Dyer exercises and the quotes and the breathing and, the releasing of control. I have an incredible base for that. I do. So I think that's why my whole life, also, like, my, spirit anxiety was also very supported when I was younger. And I think I didn't have a lot of times where I would not know how to come back from something. I think this was kind of like the one and only that it dropped me really low. And I felt like I didn't know what to do next. I didn't understand that, like, but I just knew I didn't want to be who I was, because it led me to there. And so even though I loved all the ways of my life before, I felt like, well, I think I was just stuck. I didn't know the version that was coming next. I didn't understand. I didn't feel worthy of becoming that version, because I carried so much guilt and shame and pain. And also, I think I just thought, like, the worst thing about it, the number one worst thing, is I knew the answer. I said the answer, and then I went against my own trusting of my own self. And not even the trusting, but, like, I just went against it for somebody outside of myself. And that, like, slingshot me right the other way and took all credit away, discredited the person in my life completely. So then I was way out of balance. I went from having no control to needing to have all the control. And I've never been that person. And it wasn't me needing to have the control, but maybe just focusing on taking the control away from somebody else. And that was sort of my only way that I felt I could come back from it, which also caused a lot of pain. So I did a lot of learning for a few years. And, also, I have 2 children, and having children really changes you on the way you process things and understand things. And I really didn't want to carry this into my children's life in any way, shape, or form. So I knew I had to heal myself in order and figure out how to move forward and what comes next. And I met some incredible people. And during this time, I went to an incredible energy healer, and I could name drop her if you're comfortable with it. I went and saw with a bit of hesitation because I did go back to work after. I actually will tell you the story is I kind of like was that person who, when things kind of go a certain way, I realize that I'm the person that closes in. I know that anyways, like from previous stuff, that I like to deal with it myself, figure out how to heal myself, come out stronger. And then when I can show up for others, then others can come back in. And so this is a time when I did close out my friend group. I closed out my family a lot, my people around me. I have a very social workplace, and I closed out going back to work where it was and just work from home. And then eventually when I went back in, I had a client that came to see me, and she told me she was a different, because the vibration was all different. And so I did express to her a little bit about like my feelings of like, what is this? Who are you? And she was so incredible. I've known this woman for years at this point. She's a beautiful friend, and she told me about this healer, and I was like, and just a side note, for somebody who sees spirit their whole life and understands all these things about like the things we can't see, I did say, so you're telling me you went to somebody and they wave their hands around you and it's just a funny, I'm being human. I was in my human. And I think I will tell you the backstory is I did try to see a few talk therapists throughout this time. I was reaching out for anything to help me because I never felt like I basically will tell you, I've always been an open book with everybody. I'm sure a lot of people will listen to this podcast and be like, yep, that's Lisa. I've just never held back. I don't think there's space for that here. We might as well I'm always the person who makes everybody feel comfortable by just being my most open, honest self. And I think that during that time, I didn't know how I'd go back to like this huge clientele that I have that know me on such a personal level. I felt like I'd be lying. Does that make sense? I felt like there would be some point of me that wasn't coming in authentically if I had to hide this part of me. And so we talked very openly, me and this beautiful client who is a friend of mine as well. She sent me to this woman, and I went. Her name is Claudia Chirico of Bloom Energy Healing.
Oh yeah, that is Claudia.
Yeah, and the first time I went to her, she brought through, and I mean, this is the shift right here. It was a very painful session. She brought through loved ones, and this is like why I'm here. I know this is why you called me here, but I'll tell you. The loved ones she brought through for me in that healing session. I do this because I put the quotations up because like when I was in there in my mind, I was so in my human and closed off. I tried to reject spirit for the 2 or 3 years before this. And the interesting thing about it is I was still, I will back up a bit. When I was a child and I saw spirit, it was very fear-based. I was scared. You see those memes where people are running down the hall in the dark, have to turn lights off. That was me. Okay. Running down the hall or running across to the washroom at night or closing the door. And it became a thing where I was like, in the night when your child has to get up to use the washroom, I'd be like, run across because I could see them, but like I didn't want to see them, but like they're there. And they're like, nope, you're going to see us. It was just reverting back to that. Okay, you can reject it, but we're always going to be here. And like, you're going to figure out why soon. And anyways, coming back to this, I went to her and, she had said to me in that session that she had, these 2 loved ones, ancestors of mine from one side of the family. And the first thing I remember saying to her, and there's not a lot I remember, I do remember the emotions, but I said to her, well, you can tell them to leave because they are the last people that I want here. They do not get to be here. They have no right to be here. They are the ones that made this mistake first. It was a cycle in my family.
It was ancestral, yeah.
And I was the one that felt like I was going to break it. And then I stepped forward and energetically, I felt like I was breaking it and then somehow reverted back because someone around me in my life at that time obviously also had cycles like this that I didn't realize. But at the time when mine came in, I only blamed myself. And when they came in, I went, absolutely not. Like, you can get out of here. Like, get out of Dodge right now. Like, you don't need to be here. This room is not for you. Like, you should leave. That's a lot. And so it's funny how like in that moment, I did know that it is not, I knew that it was like me again blaming outward, and I looked inside a lot. I just it was painful to look inside, and so I had a lot of tears those few years, and it was very hard at all to be social with anybody because I didn't feel like I could show up as my most authentic self all the time, and so that just was never ever me. It was never me, and so I think I felt the pain for not only myself, but these people that came through, and maybe the person around me that made this decision, and other people in my life that it affected. And so I think that there was a lot of things happening that I was holding pain, and I blame myself the most. However, I didn't realize how far back or maybe how many around me that I was also holding that for. And like forgiveness was really important. And knowing that forgiveness isn't just like a one time or coming to the release and healing it, that it's like many times over in different aspects throughout your life, that it's going to be many layers at any different time. And that's okay. That it's not like a this or that. It's all, there's not one truth. There's 16, 40, 100 truths, I think it opened my mind. But I will tell you that one pivotal session in my life after being to a few talk therapists that I kind of decided like, I don't know what's going to happen next. I'm just going to live in this gray because I don't know what's going on. And spirit tried to come back in and I was like, nope. Like I was very upset. And she was the one to bring them back in for me and be like, actually, it's okay. And know that like, we had a big talk about it. And I think she is the one that also gave me the like reminder or remembering about what I had existed in for so long. And actually like the acceptance around some things in our lives. And the reminder that, I'm here and what is the purpose, finding purpose in things moving forward, which even hearing that outside myself and saying it now for the situation that was a pivot for me or that created that sort of deep trauma in that moment. After all of that, I think the biggest thing, even though my response back to that story, I should just say, is that like I still want to roll my eyes at it. After all of that, bringing me into the forefront of like not being able to ignore it and being like, no, we're still here. Where are you going next? It's interesting how I did a lot of healing. I went forward with like, I did energy healing, but I went into like an intensive energy healing at that point where I worked with an incredible instructor where Claudia went through as well, Michael D'Alton, and he's amazing. He has a bioenergy healing online and in person. And that was very life-changing for me because it wasn't even learning about how I was going to heal others. That's what it was about. But I actually was healing myself through that. And then coming out and understanding that, I think we think that we're coming to heal others and we're going to heal ourselves, but we're actually, every time we heal others, we're healing ourselves. It's ongoing. And I think the gift from that I received, not from that actual happening, but from the process of healing afterwards, that took me a long time to get to. It wasn't from the actual situation or that moment in time. It was actually the process of coming back and moving through all the vibrations and understanding the frequencies that we exist in. And maybe also understanding, you work with people, you shared with me earlier before this, that you work with handing back people's control to them or just bringing their awareness back. I think all of those things, that was really powerful for me, knowing that, how do I describe it? I'm going to say one saying, like, I had a lot of fear of like who I was going to be next and if I was worthy to be this still and worthy to work in this still. And, just the antidote to fear is service. And I think that for me was so powerful to know that being in service to others, healing others, connecting with spirit. I think for me, it was so powerful to move into that because this was the driver of my healing. This was the driver of, this is where you're going forward. You're going to power through with it. There's no going back to what was. Don't try to go there. Like there is a big thing. It's probably the only thing, like I know we talked earlier too, if you are on my Instagram, it's not great. I'm not a social media person. I'm going to try harder. But I think the only thing that's made it on my wall maybe since day one is that, the reason that you're not healing and going back to the person that you used to be is because maybe you're not supposed to be that version anymore. And I think like, how can we when we have to go through something that's so, and I say grow through because not go through, because I feel like go through is what I would have said in that moment when I'm sitting in that pain. And now I can look back and say I grew through it. And even though I knew stuff was coming, like I'm a medium, I know what's coming. I knew that I had, another child that was coming. I knew that he was meant to bring, I knew what this child was meant to bring through and then I knew what the next was meant to bring through. And like, I knew there was a process, but I was still very rejecting of it when I was in that pain. And I think I learned so much through that and experienced so much through the power of like the healing of spirit and things we cannot see. I feel like we couldn't answer it all right now, but my biggest thing the biggest takeaway is that it wasn't just about me and my healing. It was about the way that my healing was going to affect so many other people. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I mean, that's what cycle breaking is all about. And I think when we heal ourselves, we often have no idea of the impact or the ripple that it actually has around others, because when we heal ourselves and then we are choosing to be a different person in this reality, the impact that we have on people is different. We have different conversations. We see them through a different lens or perspective. We don't judge as much or criticize. So and particularly in family, I think it's really important, because if you've got ancestral wounding or patterns, and you can get triggered by people doing, what you do too, and your partner as well. Because I think one of my biggest revelations in the last couple of years is, how there was always this "you complete me" line about who you choose as your partner. Well, it's a complete 180. You actually choose people who are subconsciously wounded in exactly the same ways that you are. And so even that for me was completely mind blowing.
Okay. And that right there blows my mind. What you just said, yes.
Yeah. My other half and I, we both like performing, both have people pleasing tendencies. So as I've worked on that with my own coaches and therapists, and then I brought it through in clients, it's helped him as well, and that's part of what, and then we're also raising kids who are not people pleasers, because we know how to hold boundaries now.
How powerful to raise the new humans that come in with boundaries and just their own, that's self-love right there.
Yeah.
It's not they don't have to hate on everybody. It's just and you don't have to be a certain way about it, but yeah, you don't have to. You can actually it can be a choice, and then know when it's a choice or when it's taking you over. It's yes to all of this. Yes.
Mm-hmm. So I'd love for you to explain what you do as a medium, because I've seen you in real life and was completely blown away. And I know I think people have different ideas in their head about what mediums do. So perhaps what do you see, hear, experience when you're with a client or in a group like I saw you?
Yeah, thank you. I have to be honest, they come up and they stand beside me just like they are here. It's just it's more subtle senses. Sorry. So, I will see, hear, feel. Sometimes there's a knowing, but when I see and I hear, it's just seeing in your imagination station, or seeing sometimes something in the corner of your eye, or sometimes I do see them objectively versus subjectively. And I think the really interesting thing about it is, we are all capable of it. We all have that connection. It's just the way that I would chop my potato up is different than the way you would, or the way that I will paint a house on a piece of paper is different than the way you'll paint a house. It's we all just have our own versions of that connection. And so sometimes people have different clairs that are stronger. Clairsentience is your clear feeling. I feel a lot. But I also clear knowing is the hardest one to trust, because it's a mind-to-mind connection. It's those times when you're in a place and you feel something in your gut, that's your sentience being oh, get out of here, or do this way. Or you just know something's going to happen. You just know, there's just a knowing. You don't know how you received it. It's just there very quick. That's your knowing. And clear seeing, same, seeing them beside you, seeing them in your mind's eye. I think there's so many different ways. Same with the hearing, clairaudience. Clairaudience is very interesting because it comes through in so many ways, and it's so connected to the throat chakra. And I love to sing. I used to be a very big dancer, but I love to sing. And it's very interesting because different things were brought through more in different parts of my life and then re-highlighted. And I think it really can have the most simplest tone to it. The most simplest tone is it's just the most subtle version of the senses that we have in our human. They're just our spirit side. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah, totally.
Yeah. And this communication just happens that way. I don't know.
Yeah. And in terms of, we were just talking about boundaries just before. How do you have boundaries so that when you're at the dentist getting your teeth flossed, you're not hearing the dentist grandma go, "Hi."
Okay, this is so funny. So
I'm sure it happens, but how do you have that?
Okay, Okay, there is. So I will be clear. There is absolutely boundaries. You can absolutely say like, uh, it's so I would love to have a friend here to tell you because we just had this conversation like 3 days ago. So yes, out of like my friends, I'm definitely the friend that has no boundaries on it. Like I love to be in the Y yoga sauna and like spirit comes in and I'm like, okay, cool. Like spirit knows what to do, right? So they'll either clear out all the sauna and the one person will still be there and I'll be like, okay, I'm going to go to my car. If they're outside of this like calm space, I don't want to bother them in this space. Like they know exactly what they're doing. There's times when I'll walk out, I'll be walking my car and that person will literally be parked beside me. I'll be like, but they will strike the conversation up with me. Like spirit knows how to do it. There's no like, I'm never soliciting people. I don't walk up to somebody in a grocery lineup, but I will say if a loved one comes and I'm standing in Nestor's and Whistler with my kids and a loved one comes, I will literally just say to them like, okay, listen, like I would love to do this for you. I'm going to exit the store at some point. If you somehow bring us across each other or you feel like this is comfortable, they will
Oh,
facilitate.
so you get them to facilitate it rather than you being
I
like,
don't even
I am trying to get sushi. Like this
I
is
don't. I
unfair.
love it. I will do it anytime, anywhere. And I will tell you
Oh.
why. I know, I don't believe, but I know that spirit comes, loved ones in spirit come when the person here in the physical beside me at any point, wherever I am, is in a deep state of need of hearing from them or in a state of healing, in a vibrational state of receiving of their loved one. So they're never going to come when somebody's going to be like, nope. Or if somebody does react uncomfortably, then I know that person, like I've actually never really had those interactions when spirits come in and I've been like, introduce myself. I'm obviously very much like, I'd love to connect with you. I don't have a card, but I can give you my email. And if you feel comfortable, send me an email. Most of the time people are like, no, just tell me right now. And I'm like, are you sure? Like, I'm very much like, I wouldn't charge. I know that if somebody comes through and I'm just standing there, there's a reason why.
Yeah, that's really
Otherwise,
cool.
right? Otherwise, spirit will facilitate them hearing through somebody else and coming to see me. I'm not, it's funny how like I'm not networky. I love to go to like dinners or to go to like social things, but because my job isn't networky, because I'm so grateful, like honestly, spirit does a lot of that for me.
Yeah.
They know what they're doing. And I could just rabbit hole some of the stories of how people have found me or how we've connected. And I mean, we have jumped through souls that have come through. I had a woman locally that had passed 25 years ago now. But when she came to me, it was about 20 years ago. And she came through like 6 different readings for like 4 or 5 months. Different people, somebody that lived around the corner from her or somebody that went to her, child's party years ago, or somebody who plays on the team now that went for a walk with somebody the other day. And it's like there is connection points until she found the person she was looking for. They know what they're doing. They know exactly what they're doing. And so I don't have the boundaries that a lot of people have. My boundaries, or I do have the boundaries, but my boundaries are set to, I am here for whoever needs to come through to be able to heal someone here on, like, let's move mountains. So,
Yeah.
I mean, am I going to have somebody come to me and be like, oh, tap her on the shoulder, make sure you tell her that's not her, she shouldn't date this guy. Like, that's not going to happen.
Yeah.
That's not my job. But if somebody needs deep healing, spirit's going to come to me and they're going to figure it out. So I feel like however that works, I'm very open to it. So yeah, if I'm at a restaurant and my server walks over and, her dad is there, I'm going to probably wait a bit and ask dad to figure out how we're going to do that. And then I just know there's a feeling where I know, okay, this is the time. Okay. Either they've given a few really good key pieces of evidence and I can speak on it immediately, or there's just a space where it just happens. And I'm like, okay, like, let's talk about it. People are so receiving, and it's because I know that spirit is lining that up. Does that make sense?
I know it, like that makes complete sense. And
My
because
boundaries are very lax. I'll say
yeah,
it
well,
that
that can be because if you're not actually orchestrating or facilitating it, you have full trust that
I do.
it's ready to be received. So, I mean, it was so fascinating when I was at the event where you did a group reading because we were in this beautiful garden setting in like the evening, a summer evening, and for the summer solstice. And we were all sitting there, and you were standing in front of us, but it felt like there was just this group of souls all just like around us. And because you were bringing each of them in one at a time. And I wanted to understand as well, because I saw it, but I want to know how you do it. Like, how are you, like, validating or check, like how how you brought in different sort of almost data points about the people to then discern within the group, okay, we've got two past dads starting with B, and you did that sort of thing. Like, how What information do you hear from past loved ones that help you figure out who they are in, for the person that you're working with?
Very good question. So in groups, there is something called casting the net or going direct. So
Right.
casting the net is what I explained to everybody in the group that, often I'll come to the group and let them know, as I start reading, if something sounds like it's your loved one, put your hand up. And as I keep bringing through the information from that loved one, if it's still yours, keep your hand up because, often spirits will piggyback. So loved ones in spirit, if they're similar, like there's two dads with both with C names, they're both going to come together. Oh, they both played sport or they were both very into sport. They're going to come together. Oh, like one of them had an ice cream truck and the other one didn't. Oh, one puts their hand down. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
but then I'm
that's how it worked.
stay with me because we now know they're both here and I can see too. So I know one is just taking the forefront because for some reason for some reason, because spirit knows I need to do one message at a time. However, when that message comes through at the end, it's like that while I'm still reading, even if no more points come up about that loved one's dad, often when the message comes through, the other person will feel it so deeply as well because they're trying to speak together. They know what they're doing. So even though ice cream truck dad got through and he was like, I'm here, I'm going to reach, I don't know, let's say Angela. So, so Angela gets the message, but Sarah's way over here. And Angela's dad knows that Sarah's dad wants to get in there too. Like, let's do this together. Like it's all love. So they know what's up. They're trying to heal as many as possible at one time. So casting the net is sort of that, right? I'm going to read out the information of someone who's here. I can see them. It's very interesting. If there's more than one standing beside them, I will cast the net because I know we're looking for a few people. So I want to see where the hands are. However, I don't often work casting the net, even though that's what happens often for a lot of mediums. I work going direct. So even though I'll put the information out there, spirit already says like, I'm over there. Like, I don't know if you remember when I knew that, I had a grandmother there with the E and then, right. But I also had the other grandmother going right to the front, going like, but there, and I could hear the other
from
side.
pounds. Yeah, you were like, yes.
And one was coming and saying her name, and the other one was saying her name, and she was a bit quieter. And so I said, okay, who's going to go first, though, right? Like, are we going to go first? Because they were two, and so because they were two totally different women, even though they were both grandmothers, that the essence of the women, the energy, they were very different. So I knew I could only go like to one kind of point here, and so which would be like a grandmother, and then they could have given me more evidence, but they already decided to like, you go first, I'll go last. I knew why the other one was going last because she showed me already, right? So I was like, okay, yeah, you stay there, sure. Like, let's do this. And I knew because I should backstory that. I knew because when she pointed to the other side, I was like, yes, okay. So I already knew. And when the one was claiming the E sound, then it's funny, but I'll tell you, this is going to sound wild. But when one person in the audience claims someone and says like, oh, that's with me, their loved one will step up even if they were in the back. They will step up and be like, I'm here. And that's why. So I was like, okay, let's do you first. You've come because the other one would have been my last and they knew that.
Yes.
So remember how there was so many dads and I didn't remember it was Father's Day the next day. Like, but then I was like, but then I went back to them and I said like, okay, is there any women here to like, feel free to, I want to give them a floor, give them a chance and a space. And so it's funny how that one grandmother had been there for a while waiting. But then she stepped back and said, just do this because I want to finish it. And I was like, oh, okay. And she said, because over there. And I knew who she was for. So going direct means they're just pointing to their loved one or they're pointing to the area. So I already know where to look, but I can already get a feeling from them like that's the one over there, And so that's why oftentimes in the group I would, as information came through, I would be like, I would say to somebody like, okay, like I know it's for you. We're going to stay there for a minute. Or I'd be like, you know what? I don't feel like we're here, but can you keep listening? It's because
I remember you said that
at some point, right? And be like, I'm actually here, but this one's here too. So just, and I'm like, okay, cool. Yeah. So I think it's important to know like just difference, like one-to-ones that doesn't happen, right? One-to-ones are just all here. They come in. Whereas in a group setting it is, and it's funny that you said that you felt like they were just all, yes, it's like there's a crowd behind me and then they line up to the right of me. Or they just maybe don't line up, but maybe they do, but they line up maybe 2 by 2 or 3, like how a crowd kind of filters in.
It did feel like a crowd that was sort of moving around a bit, people coming forward and it was so crazy because that morning I was at yoga and my I had this thought, that I haven't like thought about my uncle who's passed in like a while, probably been a couple of weeks, right? And I've had some like connections with him previously, and I didn't even know that you were coming to the event. I thought it was just dinner in the garden and connection with other women. And so when I got there and like they were like, oh, we've got this medium, I was like, oh my God. Because I said to him, if you're around, can you just give me a sign if you're still around? And then I actually I didn't have this sense that you were going to connect with him. But when I was sitting there, I heard the name Feeble in my head. And so my name is Fiona, but my nickname is Fee. And
Okay.
he, the only person ever who called me Feeble because he was very sarcastic. And so I was just sitting there like, oh, that's where I was like, there truly are souls just all around us right now. Oh my God, I've got goosebumps. Like, you know, I was just like, this is phenomenal. And as I said to you before, like 5 years ago, I would have told you out to lunch. Like,
I love, you know what is so powerful? The fact that you sat in that same space and you're so open with your awareness that you could hear him because he obviously was there and he obviously came to you. Like there's no doubt in my mind. I know that. Like when you came up after and you mentioned this to me and I was like, yeah, like no, absolutely. I wish I could have gone through everybody. Like I know there was people back then. I was like, okay, like let's continue this. And I know that if I leave a group and if I see people individually after, there was a few people that did walk up to me after and we talked for a hot minute and I was like, okay, I will tell you like they're here. Let's talk really quick. Like it was very quick. I don't love it, but I would love to have so much time. Like Spirit knows I love to do this. There is like, I'm so passionate about it. And I think the greatest thing is like, he already knew that he wasn't going to take up time there because other people needed to hear something. And he came straight to you to let you know I'm here. He said the name to you and you were able to just receive it because you're in that. Like what an incredible, the fact that we're all able to be in that frequency and it shows for you like how tuned in you are, how aware you are. Does that make sense?
well, and even that came to me in yoga that morning, like out of nowhere. Like when I pieced all that together, I was like, whoa, that's cool.
Yeah. They're brilliant. You know, I think that's incredible. They know what's up. They really do. They know what they're doing. People here only had just a moment of an idea of what is happening on the other side and what they just know. It's just, yes, I love that you put it all together too, because that's it. It's not just the one thing. It's like everything from that day leading up to that moment, even though, and you even said, you're like, I just had a feeling he wasn't going to come in through you, but so he was there the whole day with me.
Yeah.
That is it, right? Like when those mic drop moments in my sessions are not about like, I don't know if it came through. I can't remember all my readings in that at Courtney's house that night, but I will tell you, you know, the mic drop moments are when somebody comes in from Spirit and talks about the phone call that was that morning, that they had that morning, or, you know, something that they did last night, you know, showing that they haven't left and they've been here for all of it.
It's not just this moment in time. They've been around.
And you don't have just the evidence of like who you were, but we're here with who you are now. And I'm seeing all of this, you know?
Yeah.
It's amazing.
So beautiful. I know you've done work and you might still do it like as an end of life doula. So you've sort of been in that incredible moment, I'm assuming, where people transition from soul in their human body to what happens after we die.
Yeah.
What is your experience or perspective on what happens to our soul when we pass away?
That's a big one. Okay, so because I cannot speak in science fact, I will speak in spirit fact, like what I know to be true.
Yeah, just from what you've experienced and for yourself. Yeah.
I know that our spirit, when our soul exits our body, or our spirit, whichever you align with, I know that we are still the essence of us. We are now just in spirit. I know that who we are in our energetic field, who we are in our energetic form, it's always in here. I also know that our brain isn't the source of consciousness. Our heart brain isn't just a source of consciousness, but it is our heart brain and our human brain here are the tools that spirit will use to exercise that level of consciousness in the human ego, if that makes sense. Sorry, that's a big one. I don't know if our brains can really get the comprehension around that, but I do know from being present at transitions that, you know, it's going to sound like a wild thing to say, but I hate to like just revert back to Hollywood, because Hollywood has done a lot of bad as well, like with this kind of work. Like they've throwing a lot of shade on this, but I will say like the light that they threw is I was too young to watch it, but like the movie Ghost, if anybody is as old as me, I'm 43, when he passes and he steps, it's not even, I think it's like, I don't know if at the end when the guy that's like, I don't even know, it's been years since I've seen it, but when like the villain of the show comes, he doesn't know that he's passed yet and he steps out of his body. It's literally what it looks like to me. That's the best way I can describe it. So accurate. And so, there's so many aspects of that movie that I was so curious to like dig deep and research and see if they consulted actual mediums. They must have, because I'm telling you, a lot of the stuff is very accurate in that movie. But one of the things in End of Life is I know that there is, and I've seen a few different ways of passings, but consistently it is just that it's just that understanding that spirit, what is holding this entire suit that we're wearing, just allows it to fall silent, and then they move out of it, but they're still here. Does that resonate?
Yeah. And then if you saw them again for a family member or something, would they sort of, if you saw them if your clairvoyance was on, would they be like wearing the same outfit and stuff, or not necessarily?
I don't see it that way. No. I would not, it's very interesting to me. I would say like there has been, so as, I feel like there's a few more things I could share on this, but I'll start with this one as you asked me that. That's a very good question. I think that when they come to me after, I know a lot of the people that I work with at End of Life, I've worked with them for a little bit prior. And of course, because some of them are deep in illness, or their body, their physical state is in a state of illness, it's like I don't often know who they were before that illness. I just know them in that illness, right? So the powerful point for me is seeing somebody that is in that state with me, even though I know they're capable of more. I work a lot with like their trauma and their pain and what's held in their body and like their history, and spirit comes in, and like there's a lot of this stuff that happens, and sometimes none at all. Sometimes there's none at all. So I will say it this way. The way that I see this person, often they will come out and I can see them in their most vibrant, full of vitality, just a very different version of themselves that I often wouldn't know, but it's like it's who they were, and that's how their family recognizes them, right? Because that's who they were their whole life. What they're wearing, I feel like they will come in, not particularly people that I've worked with. I don't know, but I couldn't answer that about the clothing change, because I don't feel like I've had the experience of really being able to particularly have an experience of like what they're wearing versus when they leave.
Yeah. No, what's coming through interestingly for me is, now you're saying this, is I saw my grandma pretty much the day or within 24 hours of when she passed. I had to say goodbye and fly back to where I was living at the time, but we all flew in to say our farewells because she was in palliative care. Okay. And when she comes to me, as does my uncle, they're on the same side of my family. When she comes in, I don't see her as she was, as I remember her in that palliative care. I do see her as her most vibrant. So that's so beautiful.
They come in like in their prime of like, and sometimes come in younger. But what's very interesting is it definitely depends on who's receiving them. Like for me, they will come in and I would have seen, like I would say that I would see them in a totally different way, but I know it's them because I can see them. But it's just they're back in like without all that illness, without anything that was there, without any ailments, without their age. There's a lot of things that change, but I think it's not only that physically or the presentation of who they are on the outside or the looks, but it's also the fact that like I can feel the up-leveling in vibration and how do I say it? Not their mission or their power, but like who they are now in their spiritual energetic body is just so much more expansive. Like there's no words for it than who they were in the human. And even though they were so incredible in their human, it's like where they've gone to now, it's like they're just part of this unbelievable, like great beyond that we can't explain, but their power is immeasurable. Do you know what I mean? Like the love, what they're here to facilitate, create, hold for us here is just, it's so expansive. So much greater. You know what I mean?
Like, and because if you think about when we're in human form, our ego takes up a lot of who we are and a lot of our space and
that's a good way. Yes.
I mean, that was one of the things that was so powerful to me of like, every one of those messages that came through was just pure soulful. Like, it was all messages of like, keep trying. I know you're doing your best, and I see you, and I see your hard work. Do you know what I mean? It was just the purest, most joyful messages because, and then I was like, of course, because we have a soul, but as a human, lucky us, we also have an ego and a critic. But when it's just your soul, that was all that was coming through. And I guess as that is around wherever it goes, but it's not with any ego to interfere with it. It can just get bigger and bigger, as you say.
Wow, that makes sense. Yes, no, that's a really good way to say it. Limitless.
Yes, it's totally limitless. Totally limitless. What's your view on soul, like at the other end of life? So when people are born, what have you experienced, or like what has spirit told you about how a soul like chooses to come on and incarnate in like this day and age? There's one example for me that I'm fascinated by. As I said to you before, I am a twin mum, and so identical twin mum. So I know that my girl started as one clump of cells, and one, like, somehow my twin B, who is very intuitive, just was like, I'm coming in too.
That's incredible.
What's your take on like how souls enter and incarnate in this 3D reality?
I definitely, I know from my experience that they have a reason for coming. And there is many times when I know there is a lot of, this is a bit, I'm sure that there's going to be a few opinions on this. My own experience with souls that come in is there's a reason for their coming. And there's also a reason why there might be a wait for them coming, which means maybe they're not going to come and they're going to go back, but they're still going to come in a different way, or they're going to be back later, or one needs to come in first. So that one had to leave and couldn't come in yet, with moments where we might, be carrying and then not. And I think the biggest thing to understand is that like there's so much bigger, like such a bigger plan around us, that there's a reason for why a soul is coming in with us. I don't know necessarily until spirit tells me like, oh, I've been with them before. We've been together this way before. I'm not a past life specialist. I don't do past life regressions, but spirit comes and talking a lot about past life connections. And I think what an incredible thing is like when you talk about how yours are identical and there's a reason why the other one, there's a reason why she came in. There's a reason. So we might not know that yet, but I will tell you honestly, I have seen a lot of times when a sibling comes in that there is, and even if it's a twin or if it's not a twin at all, or if there's space, I know that a lot of times that sibling is coming in for the other sibling. Who knows if that's definitely like your other daughter or if that's your other child. But to be honest, I think it's so powerful to understand that like they all have a purpose. There is a purpose. And of course we have a soul purpose, but there is a purpose. And if it's either to carry someone through, or I have seen it where one has come in and then left. Like, so this is going to sound really, I'll try to explain it as best as possible. If somebody was pregnant with a girl and then in the physical, the baby leaves early, and then the boy comes in first. I can see that like the boy is like, no, like, because I had to come in first, but the girl comes back in after. It's like, there is a purpose for this, there is a reason why. And we don't have control over anything. Not to say that that's the answer to all of our misses here at all, not at all. Okay. Or like, any of these incidents that happen around pregnancy. But what I will say is the way that children come in, or the way that souls, when they're birthed in, I know that they're coming in with their own journey and their own purpose. And it's already there. Like, I feel like if we could understand, I don't know how the best ways to describe it. Like, maybe I'm going to share my story of one point of it. And then if people can identify with this, I know that my first one was coming in to, share his whole heart openly and show us what love is, and show us vulnerability, and like his love brought us to our knees. Like, he's just an incredible bleeding heart, and he's most authentic, and he showed us to like how to release judgment and move without people pleasing and all these ways, acceptance in all ways. And my next one came in, I knew he had to come because he was bringing the joy, and he brought the joy not only to the family, but brought the joy to my first one. He was the one that was coming in to not distract, but pull all of like the I don't know, take all the negative vibrations in any point of our lives in this journey and like just like no space for them because my joy is so big we can't have space for it. And it's like he's the one that if you even were to like get upset with him in any way, shape, or form, there's no choice but for the cycle to break because he just laughs about it. Like he doesn't take you seriously in any way, shape, or form. And some people will come over and be like, oh yeah, my second child gives no hex either. And I'm like, no. It's like a different thing altogether. Like it's not that he doesn't care what you're saying. He just is like, okay, like I'll have no TV for a week. Like he's just like, all right. Like he's not talking back. He just has like, there's no concept of like, we're not going to store anger. It's like we're not going to go there. And then you have no choice but to be like, what am I doing? Like, blah, blah, blah. We're not going to do that. And it's not even like taking away something or anytime you want to feel like you're going to reprimand, like this child came in to show us that we just don't do that. Like there's no room for that in this life. That's just not a thing. And it's just everything, because that is also part of my cycle breaking. Like
how is his boundary around his frequency? He was like, I will not shift my vibration for how you're feeling right now, Mom.
Yes. And I'll tell you, that is so wild that you say that. So I remember in my pregnancy with him, my first one, I was like running, I was doing Koi Rocket, like maybe controversial, like 35 and a half weeks, like holding my belly very slowly. But like I jogged Koi Rock a few times a week. And like, I was like, I'm vegetarian. So I was like, everything was like green juices. And like, I was so healthy. And my second one, I couldn't even eat. And they say a potato chip because I would have clients come in and I would be like, it was like not a sickness, but I was like, I just feel like I can't eat anything. I can barely like drink water. And they were like, just don't try eating like apple slices, like have a potato chip or a wine gum. And I was like, and like, I couldn't, nothing. And I was worried that I wasn't eating enough because I was like, well, I really want him to be okay. It was like the way that he was in my body felt like the only way I can describe it is like spirit anxiety, like, which is a vibration, which I don't want to call anxiety, but spirit vibration, which is such a high vibrational energy and it vibrates inside the body. And it's like, you can't pin it down. It doesn't feel like anxiety. I'm not anxious. It's not like here in my throat. It's like somewhere in my body that I feel like you can't describe it. It's like, and I'm sure people around the world might be like, oh my God, I know what that is. That's the starseed, right? That's what's coming in. It's the pure joy vibration. Had I had known, right? And I literally, but that's another one of my learnings through this process. And it's funny, like when he came in, he was like, so strong. And I mean, there was a lot of things around, like my first birth was so easy. And so like like just felt like a period cramp. Like it was like, didn't need anybody. My second one, I thought was going to be the same and he wasn't. And I also learned a big lesson through that. And spirit's always like, just when you think you're good, we're going to teach you something else. Cause how are you going to hold space and support somebody with their healing if you don't know this vibration? Not saying they have to put you through all the things, but I'll tell you, an incredible medium, Danielle Sarank, a Squamish medium, she has told us repeatedly over the years, and she's so correct. The only makeup for a really good medium or probably a good healer as well, I would say, is a life well lived. How can you come to be present for everybody's vibrations and connect with spirit and have all these ways come in without having a massive reference library yourself? Oh, yeah. And so I would say like that energy of my child was already in there before he even came here. Like and it just makes so much sense. It's like, I feel like moms listening to like their bodies and their babies and they're having that connection with their babies before they come, whether they're carrying them in their own body or somebody else is carrying your baby or you're adopting, however that baby is coming to you, you will know that feeling like when you're connecting with that soul before it's even in your arms. That's just the best way I can say it.
Oh,
I think that coming
100%.
Right?
Well, I can probably discern it more for my firstborn. The second was harder because I had two babies growing inside of me.
I mean, yes, fair.
But for my first one, 100%. And he like came out, like he was so active inside the whole time. And when he came out, he was like, I was like, yeah.
That is definitely
after the god of thunder because of it was one of the names we had, but that was why we chose his name, because he was so full of like energy and life and fire and thunder.
Okay, yes, that is, I understand. That's my second. I understand. And so I think like that's it. Like it's kind of like that is already happening for us. And it's like we also think we have so much control. I'm going to tell a really funny story. Okay. So, talking about cycle breaking, I don't know why, but like, you always, maybe you just want it to be different because you want to have a different experience. My mom, I don't know if she'll probably find with me sharing this, but my mom had her first child in later August, and had me in later July. And I had my first child in August was supposed to be 2 days. His birthday was supposed to be later August, okay? And then my second was early July. So it was just like, but I'll tell you what happened. This is actually what happened. So let's say my brother's birthday is maybe the later August. He's a few years older than me, okay? And my birthday is late July. And my oldest son was supposed to be, my first was supposed to be later July, like a few days before my brother's birthday. And I was like, oh, like, please come early, please be a Leo. Like, not that it's like a thing. I shouldn't do that. I should have just been happy with it. It's my first baby. And I think I had all these like understandings of my life, and we have all these human understandings, and we feel like, I think I just was like, no, like, I feel like it needs to be different. And so, moving forward, my son was born in the 8th hour of the 8th day of the 8th month. He is a Lionsgate portal baby. He is. Yeah. And so it's so funny how that worked out. He came on August the 8th. So only like, I think maybe a little bit early. And it's really interesting, 2 weeks, maybe, I don't know. But so what I will tell you is that my next one ended up coming July 10th, which is wild because me and my brother are both like in the 20s, a day apart, a few days apart, a month apart. And so it just, we talk about cycles. Well, then that cycle repeated itself. And instantly I was like, oh, like, so like, but then is everything else going to be the same? Like, we're so human that then we're going to be like, and it's not even like it was great. But what I'm saying is like the dynamic between the kids and the parents and the way that the kids get along in all the ways, is everything going to be the same? Like, is it just all predictable, or can everything be different? Well, of course, everything's going to be different because nothing can ever be the same. That's just not the way it is. Nothing will ever be the same. And so I just think it's funny that you talk about like, we're literally on a cycle breaking one. I was like, I just have to tell you this part. But like, it's like, we really don't have that much. Like, it's spirit knows what they're doing and when they're coming. So it's like, maybe I manifested, but I know I didn't. So
no. I have an interesting relationship with control, and I've like really, really outgrown it in the last 6 months more than like, I didn't even realize how big it was until a couple of years ago. But
powerful.
I feel like, when I became a mum was very much a catalyst for who I've become and all the evolution I've been going through. But it was the first time where I had the rug pulled out from underneath me. I realized I had no control over what was going on. And like, it was, and I worked through it in the moment, but it was paralyzing because it was like, I was like, I can't believe this is happening. Like, my son was breech and I did all this stuff to try and turn him, and he would not turn. And we did an ECV and they lost his pulse, and it was very traumatic. And then when I had him 3 weeks later, because I let him go to term, he's like, the umbilical cord was so tightly wrapped around his neck that,
oh my goodness.
Like, he would have died 20 years, 30 years ago before like we had cesareans and stuff, because of how it was, he was stuck breech because he would have been hanged. So it's just like, when you're like, I was trying to get him to turn because I wanted to have a natural birth and all these things. And it was just like one of those like very like reset moments of life of like, just let it, like, you need to let it go, because like what will be.
Yes. And also like, we don't know what's coming for us and why it's coming. It's like the age old, like, spirit doesn't bring us what we want. They bring us what we need.
Yes. I love that.
It's like, right. It's like, we always think that what we want is what we need, but actually like what we want and what we need are two totally different things. And what we think we need and what actually needs to happen for us are two totally different things as well. I think it's like, this is an incredible thing about the work that, I don't know how you feel about your work, but when I say this, it might resonate a little bit. I feel like, I step into this work and I release all control. I have 3 words about it. I tell people the triangle, like surrender, release trust, or trust, release, surrender, but release control, surrender to what's coming, and then trust what's coming in. And I think the most powerful thing about that is like, how would every parent feel if before they have their kids, there was like this incredible thing worked in where you could just have like, a mindfulness or a meditation or a release of the control and say, listen, anything you were before, any version of you that was before is not the version that's going to be next. So when your kids come, trust your intuition, surrender to the child or the soul that you have there, release control to them because they're going to show you. What if we just always have it in us and we can trust that we know we can do this? We have connection. Like, I just think it's like, what a powerful thing that like the work that I do now is so reflective of like my parenting when I was when I had my kids, like everybody read these books and everybody, I felt really bad because it was my first child. My husband went to every like class, those prenatal classes, and I worked late and like didn't make it, or I'd be halfway through and he'd be with everybody and then he'd have to fill me in. And I just had no, and I read the Ina May book. I don't know if anybody read that. I think that was the book that I resonated with the most because it talked about like, who do you need to have in the room for what feels good for you? What feels like you can calm, what feels like a calm space to have this baby in, was breathing. There was nothing so intense, no rules, no advice. It was just about reflection. I felt what I took from that book was a lot of like, how do I need to create the space, the vibration that I feel like I can just have this baby, focus on what the baby's needs are, what I feel, and this baby's going to lead me, and I'm just going to know, because you know what, like women have been doing this for thousands of years. Yeah, thank goodness that we had the resources we do. I'm all for having babies in the hospital. I think it's good to have our resources or having things handy for however people want to do it, in a pool in their living room, whatever they want. I thought I was going to have a C with my second because he was not coming, and it was I had a very different experience. There was a lot of fear that came in that I really had to work through at the moment of the heavy labor. And I just turned it over. And I prayed, I begged, I prayed, I begged the baby, I begged my child. I knew his name at the time. He had come in and told me his name at 7 months. And, I just was like, please come, please come. And I was like, you got to do the rest. I can't do this. Like, I was so tired. And I was like, you're tired, but and I turned it over to spirit and everybody that I had in spirit. And I was like in that moment, and I never thought I would ever be in that moment. But I was in the same moment of like, this baby is not moving. Like, is this baby stuck? Like, I could feel it intuitively. People weren't listening. It felt I was scared for a bit, So when I felt myself getting more fear around it, I instantly stopped. I paused. I tried to breathe through it. I went like outside of myself and expanded myself into spirit and just asked everyone to come in for help here. And like, I knew they were already there, but I was in my own way. And so it was like just releasing in that moment. And I think I love that you were like, you know what, it really doesn't matter how, it just matters that they get here and that we're okay. Whether they come out of us, somebody else, whether it's a C-section or, I think we put too much in our human on certain things, but like that baby comes in knowing what's happening. I know before I came, just wait and see.
Yeah.
I don't know. I feel
my
like there's
my ego had a plan of how it was going to go.
Yes,
My
you do.
son absolutely gave it to me.
And that is what I call the horizontal energy field, because do we not just grow up with like these resources all around us, like giving us information about like how it's going to be with your body if you have it this way, or what you do with this, or how's this, and like, then you get your own ideas. Like, they talk about when a soul comes in and there's no conditioning. There's none. What if we could just jump onto that no conditioning and just ride the wave with that beautiful soul coming in from such like source energy, like that incredible heavenly energy that it brings in, that's brand new, that we could just like renew with it, That'd be so incredible.
So incredible.
But we are human and we have to walk here too. So I get it.
Yeah, totally.
I get it.
What's an edge or something that you're working on right now?
Say it again.
What's
Repeat,
an
sorry?
edge or something that anything that's coming up for you right now that you're actively working on?
That's a good one. I think probably speaking a lot of this wider, not that it's like the reach, or not the actual, it's not holding you back like what the topic is. It's like understanding what my next steps are, trusting where to go next when it's in front of me. I'm really working on my presence and how I want to, the energy that I want to bring. So the spaces that I'm being really conscious and intentional about the spaces I want to exist in, the people that I want to be around. I'm grateful to be on this podcast with you because I feel like it's part of those steps. And I feel like a lot of that too is like, I think I'm also constantly releasing control over the direction, maybe. I mean, that's a really broad one, I feel like right now. And I don't know why, but I'm grateful that you asked me that, because I almost feel like I don't know what to answer it with. Like I think I'm very easygoing, but I have with sort of following spirit and where it goes. But because we have to have the balance of the masculine and the feminine, I think there is the idea of like, this is so much healing. And I still pull myself out of like constantly having to pull myself into the masculine of like, but you also have to have a business through it to sustain it. Like these things are two things that I'm constantly working with an edge, I think. I think that's probably the biggest one right now.
Yeah.
Does that resonate?
Oh, it does. And because when I was in corporate, it was all masculine. I obviously had intuition playing out but I didn't really acknowledge it or realize it was there. And then, but you can also go too far into your feminine and like be like, oh, clients are just going to come and like,
right.
They might, but like a lot of the time they don't. And so you need to have some structure and strategy and stuff. So it's about knowing when to pull on each lever.
Yes.
But then you can still feel aligned, you know, you're not pulling too hard on ones because that will pull you out of alignment and then it'll feel funky and you won't want to do it.
Yeah. And I think for me, if I nail that edge, it's the business processes. So for me, like I'm very grateful. I have a waiting list and I'm so fortunate for that. However, I have to understand that accommodating the amount of people that I would love to see means that I have to step up business practices in some way. And so learning about some of those things, that is my edge. Right? And so it's going to come. I am resistant of it because I like to sit in the feminine and be in the energy, and I love to do the readings and I like to be in here. I don't love the other side of it.
Yeah.
So that's probably my biggest edge. And I feel like it's so valuable that you say like, yeah, like you really have to, it's all part of it. Like if it's a business and it's funny, I don't love to call it that, but the fact is like in the end, like I think a lot of people that work in healing or work in the industries that we do, I think it's tough for them to, or maybe not. I have a lot of like money wounding. I want to like give it all away for free. And like, but then I can't provide it for people because I have kids and a house and I need to eat.
And a mortgage and food and I
know. And so like, it's like, I know that I've had a lot of balance worked on with spirit because there's this idea of, okay, if I want to be able to bring all this through for people full time or reach the reach that I want or as wide as I can, I have to create it in a sustainable way to be able to do that. If I want to just do it for free, then I have to work another job and do this in between. Do you know what I mean? Which is not reaching like not going as wide as I'd like to. So maybe my reach is also expanding into like, you know, I did the group with you guys. I'd love to do like more expansion on that, more groups. It takes a lot of energy but a lot of organization. And so I think that business part is my edge, you know?
Yeah. Yep.
Whoa.
Now you said it out loud. You have a choice to do something about it.
True. Yes. I feel like people are going to listen. They'll be like this. They'll eye roll me and be like, this is not the first time you said this. This is your pattern. It is my pattern. Like I sit a lot of that feminine and float through like let's just do this whenever.
Yeah.
I need to like get on but to be fair, I do have my small kids. And so while they've been small, being a primary parent at home or working while I'm at home with them, it has been like, it's been like full-time work, full-time kids, you know, like it's like
totally.
So
yeah. No, I know that.
Maybe the timing involved, right?
I feel like also if you put it out to spirit, there's some incredible people who just do the strategy business process work that could do it for you because I know you don't want to do it. And I'm I'd like to learn it kind of person. You sound like you just want to outsource the whole thing. So if anyone's listening to this podcast,
Hi, totally. It's so true. Yes, it is one of those things. And and it's funny because I actually, my partner is extremely business minded. Like he is Sauder School of Business honors. I think he didn't sleep for a year. I don't know. He is brilliant. He's brilliant with numbers, mathematics. He's just very brilliant. And so he is a spreadsheet king. He is very organized, very dialed. And I'm total opposite. And I think it's funny how you do, you marry that person that really reflects back to you the things that you're we're going, but so there's very much where he's okay, but and this and this and this. And I'm I know, but can you do it? He's no, I'm busy. I'm but you do it for yours. Anyways, we'll talk about it, but I will learn. We will somehow, there will be a connection, right? And I think a lot of he was feeling aligned. I'll be honest. I don't feel I don't feel like I look for the business coach. I love the way I am in my business. I love where I'm at, but it is the admin and the setup of the background stuff.
Yeah, the back end stuff. Yeah.
Right. That's like I don't know, there's small parts of it. But yeah, I mean, I feel like we could go a little bit all over for this, but
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
but it's so funny, you coming from corporate, do you feel like you stepped into this and you kind of have processes right away for stuff?
Probably more than you do, but it's not it's not what I love to do. So I'm much more like shiny objects. Like I would love to do podcasts all day and coach people all day, but I need to set up times when you and I can get on Riverside and record. And so there's this back end stuff, and same with coaching as well. So, because yes, you need to create contents for people to know who you are, and then they will want to work with you. But if you don't do any of that, no one's going to find you sitting in your office in North Vancouver.
Right. Yes. True.
So,
True.
Yeah.
No, that's great. I love that you even learned this. I'm like, yes, step by step. Okay.
Step by step. Absolutely. Okay. I'm going to ask you one last question that I ask everyone, and then a couple of rapid fires, and we'll wrap it up.
Okay.
So transformation often happens in these sort of small intentional steps. It's not as much these big quantum leaps that we sometimes hear about on Instagram in particular. Now, based on your journey to date, what's one small step or action that listeners can take to unlock their limitless potential?
Okay. I think it's tough to say one thing, but I feel like I don't know why I want to go to the words awareness and acceptance. I feel like I think bringing awareness to things that we need to reflect on is a start. I think bringing awareness to anything in our lives that we feel like is a hurdle or is just whether it's good or bad, awareness of what it brings you. And then acceptance around who we are as human beings on this journey. I think if you have acceptance of where we are at and you can bring awareness to that acceptance, there's no unseeing the things that you reflect on. Sorry, it wasn't rapid fire. I had to think about it for a moment.
No. The rapid fire's next. That what could have
okay.
been.
Okay. I
you know
feel
what
like
is also coming through for me, and you mentioned it earlier, and I didn't get to ask you about, but awareness, acceptance, and also forgiveness.
Forgiveness, yes.
Because you spoke about that earlier, and it really it does entangle with those two beautifully in terms of.
Oh my gosh, absolutely. I think understanding that it's also forgiveness isn't final. I think people think that we check, I forgave myself, or check, I forgive that act. I think it's it's not like that. There's layers to forgiveness, just like anything else. If people can understand the layers and have awareness of the layers, that's amazing in itself. And that literally there's love around every way that we can step into our awareness. We're going to find love, whether it's for ourselves, for others. That's where the love is. It's in the awareness. So I don't know. I feel like that's sometimes hard to find for people,
I totally agree.
I don't know if that's the best. There's lots of those. I could answer so many, but I'm which do I pick?
Oh, okay. Let's do rapid fire.
Okay.
What is your superpower?
Acceptance.
Beautiful.
I think it's acceptance. I think that maybe, that's a tough one. I mean, my first one was going to be I speak to spirit. But if I'm not in my human, I was step out of your human. What's your superpower? Acceptance. Okay. This has happened. What next? Or, this is not this is just a moment in time. This is not, I'm going to accept this as a moment in time. It is not who you are. I think acceptance is one of all ways. I feel honestly, I feel the root of acceptance is love. I really do. And so even though I say acceptance, I feel if you can be accepting of, and that doesn't mean you accept everything, but I feel there's acceptance of an understanding around a situation. Some things can be quite traumatic. I'm not telling you to accept something that's happened to you in your life. I'm saying if you can accept maybe the way that you're showing up because of something that's happened. Like you have to find where that is, right? And I think acceptance is really important. I feel like acceptance to me somehow, even though it's maybe not on a scale, is somehow in my heart the opposite to judgment. And I feel like we could do without judgment on the list, even though we need discernment. So there's a place for it. I can't go 100%. Does that make sense? I just feel like, and maybe my superpower at the root of it is love. Like I just want everybody to feel and experience a form of love in this life that they need, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. And I also feel like what's coming through was around about like not identifying with things. So something bad happened to you. It doesn't make you a bad person, or it doesn't make you this or that. Because then you latch onto that and it becomes part of your identity, and it doesn't need to be. It's actually a choice.
That's very fair. Yeah.
Yeah. So when you accept and move on, you don't identify with it. You can be like, that thing happened to me and it was shit and terrible, but it's not who I am.
And acceptance of like behaviors or vibrations around you. It's like, it's not yours. You can accept that it's somebody else's. It's not yours, you know?
Yeah.
I think by accepting what's around you, you're not doing yourself a disservice. You're actually doing yourself a service in understanding the fact that you're in acceptance of what's around you and that it's not yours. And it's like somebody else's truth doesn't have to be your truth. You know, I think there's so many ways acceptance can be applied. And I feel like that's like the human ego experience of like maybe deep love, because I feel like you cannot have full acceptance unless you have like full love in your spirit, you know?
Yes. Okay. What's a common misconception that people have about you?
Oh, I don't know. Maybe that like, I don't know how to say it because I don't even really know the describing words for it. But like that I could bring something damaging or dangerous or afraid of. Maybe, I don't know. I can't word it, and I'll be honest. I'm so fortunate that I'm just trying to think like, what would people around me have as a misconception? This is going to sound funny, but because I'm actually such an open book, I don't know that a lot of people do have misconceptions because I do feel like maybe they do. Like I can't see it from their side, but I do feel like because I'm so open, I don't know if there's room for a misconception. Do you know what I mean? But I feel like if they did, it might be somebody that doesn't know. And if they first, I would only think about it through maybe my mediumship or what I do that way.
Yeah.
Or my healing work, that maybe the misconception could be built on or built off of like a view of integrity because they don't know me. Do you know? Yeah. I don't know how else to say it. Does that make sense?
Yeah. No, that makes quite a sense.
For people that haven't experienced this, you know, for the people that don't know what this kind of is, because I feel like I'm in a very unregulated industry too. And so there's all kinds, right? So maybe.
Absolutely. What is a lesson that the universe keeps throwing back at you to learn and relearn and relearn?
Okay. That's a good one. Maybe this is going to sound funny, but like I'm going to say acceptance, because that is so at the forefront right now for me. And not jumping ahead of what's coming after that acceptance. And it's funny that I used that word before, but I would just say that's probably why it came through so big, because it is such a big lesson right now. And I think also, I mean, I continuously learn like I think a lot of people's self-worth over and over. I don't know, like it's a big one.
No, that makes sense. Yeah. Well, that I do hear you, and sometimes you need to sit longer in the acceptance piece rather than moving forward. So
right.
Yeah.
And I feel like I almost sometimes I'm like, oh, am I done accepting that? And I'm just gonna
action mode.
Then I'm not that person. So then I'm like, oh no, okay, I'll accept it. And I'm not a doormat. I'm just like that person who's like, yeah, like I really do accept people for where they're at and who they are and how they show up, because that's not mine, it's theirs. And I'll do my best to stand in the space of it if they need it, or, you know, hold space for it for, you know, what's appropriate. But there really is, for me, I feel like that's what even working with end of life, I think the biggest thing is like, there's a good misconception. A misconception as well, I think, is people maybe that I work with as well have an idea that I'm, and I don't want to say it the wrong way, because I have seen miracles. But like, I think the misconception is that it's mine, that it's me, that I'm the power in the human, but I'm actually just a facilitator or I'm holding the line. Does that make sense? That's a
Yes.
good one. Sorry, answer that. Sorry, I should have said
Yeah,
that.
just say, yeah.
That's
Yeah,
sort of
because I felt like you were like almost like a bridge between the two worlds for us that night. But yeah, but you were like, but the way you described it, like as a facilitator or a bridge, it was
yeah,
in, because there was no ego. Because if you were like, the misconception is if like in the coaching and healing world, there's so many gurus, and most of them are
yeah.
the biggest egos on the planet.
I didn't even think of that. But this is what,
You know what I
you know
mean?
what?
Because yeah.
Oh, you're right. Somebody that doesn't know what I do or what I bring. And it's interesting. I don't know why when you asked me this very last question, I don't know why this just came right in because I instantly pictured working with end of life or working with somebody who is deep in illness or like physical illness. And I feel like, or emotional, I guess, but I feel like I don't know, for some reason, spirit brought it in so fast and hard that I need to just forefront the fact that people think maybe and my words and my human, we're going to be like, they think that I'm going to work a miracle. However, I'm coming in to hold the line for the miracle or hold the line for the energy, which is the miracle. You know, like I don't know how else to describe it. I didn't want to say it at first. I held it back and then spirit was like, no, just say it. Because I think in our human, you know, if somebody brings me in or they want me to come in and work with them or they bring me in for a family member, like their instant misconception is that I'm the one that's bringing something. I am, but I'm actually I'm actually holding a line. You know,
You're like
that's
creating the space for it to
yeah, I'm not in control of
transpire.
it. I
Yeah,
think the
yeah.
misconception is that I would be in control of everything, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, that's fascinating. Okay, when you hear the word limitless, the name of this show, what are 3 words or feelings that are evoked in you?
I instantly hear spirit. As soon as you said limitless, I heard spirit, like universe. I also feel like just love. Like I feel like pure love. Like to me, I feel like we are all surrounded by limitless pure love and like spirit is trying to show us and like the universe is trying to create shifts where hopefully where we will all be aware. It will be an awareness and we will
Right.
make a huge shift from what is already here, you know? But limitless is so beautiful. Actually love that it's called that because it was the first thing I thought. I was like, oh my goodness, that's literally spirit, like limitless.
Yeah.
No,
Yep.
spirit comes and shows us that there's no limits. Actually, we create that. So human,
So,
that is
yes, the ego.
right.
Your ego
Limits.
creates
So
the limit. Yeah, and the constraint and the
yes,
restriction. You're so true, so true.
yeah.
Okay, last one is, and I'm interested in this because you said you're a singer, so I know you must love music. When you're having a down day or you need to shift your mood or your frequency or vibration, what is one song that you like to put on?
Oh, that's a good one. Okay, right now,
Mm.
oof, let me think. You know, I love to put on a song that like one of my kids really loves to sing, and I love to put on a song that we can both sing to. And it sounds wild because I think like there's so many right now at this moment that I'm going to say one, and then after I'm gonna be like, and this one. But I will tell you, like originally for so long was like Whitney Houston's "Higher Love" for
Oh
so
my God,
long.
that song's so
But
good.
like, and right, lots of Whitney Houston. But I don't know, like I have to be honest, I love so many different songs. I actually really love if I'm shifting my energy and I'm going to sing to something and it's not like meditative, I think like I'm really into like something like oh my goodness, maybe Pink Pony Club or like, you know, I really love a good dance that like and then like or like Robin like dancing on my own. Like I love
Yeah,
really like
great song.
dance.
Yep.
Yeah, that you can like really holler out. I didn't say I'm a good singer, but I do love to sing. But I also love a good ballad. Like, you know, if something comes on that's a good ballad, like that is something that I feel like really raises my energy up. That I can really go deep in my voice and like open my throat chakra up. Like I feel
Yeah.
like that's so I love that stuff.
I'm
But
with
so
you.
I mean a
I,
variety, I guess. But yes.
I saw a funny reel on Instagram the other day about women in their midlife in the car belting out Celine Dion ballads.
Oh my gosh, that is crazy. Are you psychic? So this is so funny. So yesterday I was going upstairs in the morning and my husband often has music on. We joke because he's, you know, it's like the male in your life that listens to all the ballads and like wants to sing the parts of it's not him, but there's somebody in like in his family that would always be like that. And I'd be like, but that's the woman's part. And it's funny, we would always joke, but like, so I was walking up the stairs yesterday and I hadn't heard it in so long, but it was a Celine Dion song and it starts off really slow. It's the I'm Your Lady. And as I was walking up the stairs, I was like on our like Spotify, I was like, is this Celine? And it's like I had to rush because I had to be on with the client. But I was like, no, I need to wait here for like 5 seconds so I can just belt out this moment of like, you're so right. That is so good. It's like there's so many timeless ones, right? Like, yes.
I feel like as well, I listened to a couple of their songs in the last week after seeing that. And like, I used to sing along without actually listening to the words, or maybe they had a different meaning because of where I was at. And, you know, when you hear them and you're like, oh, wow, that's what you were saying.
Yeah, it's true. It's like you're not in it, but then you're in it now and you're like, oh, like, so
I'm
yeah.
So awakened and conscious to the words. You're like, oh, that's interesting. I didn't realize that what this song was about.
Yeah, it's true. And it's so funny because, you know, a lot of like my household is really into like the upbeat dancing music, and I will choose like a good like deep ballad over that, but just because it like really centers me and I love that I can sing to it. It's like I really love that part. But like I feel like it's like it's like all ways
all
of
genres.
Yeah.
Oh, I love that. Well, Lisa, thank you so much for coming on to Limitless today. I have loved our conversation, and I know that everyone listening will have so many takeaways and probably some new curiosities and fascinations in the work that you do. So from the bottom of my heart, thank you very much.
Oh, I'm so grateful to spend this time with you. You have no idea. Thank you. Thank you. And Fiona, honestly, I just want to tell you, I just felt so incredible having this conversation with you and expanding this. It was so amazing. Thank you.
Thank you for tuning in to Limitless. If you enjoyed today's episode and love hearing the stories of courageous cycle breakers, I'd be grateful if you could leave a review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. Your feedback not only helps others discover the show, but it also amplifies our mission to unlock emotional freedom and true potential. Every review makes a difference in helping more people embrace their limitless life.